Hey, good morning, everyone, or good day, good afternoon, wherever you are. I thought I would get up this morning and share my morning coffee with you while I work a little on some of the leveling capabilities of Primavera P6 for shutdowns, turnarounds, outages. I think most of you realize that P6 Primavera was not designed for these intense and dynamic events called shutdown, turnaround, outages. Instead, it was primarily developed for EPC projects. Things like building greenfield acid plants or bridges or mega projects and hospitals, things where we would expect to use a true WBS structure, using things like weekly updates and scheduling in a way that the program refers to leveling resources. So this is one of the differences I want to talk to you about. That in the turnaround environment, in these type of intense events, we don't necessarily level resources. What we do is we schedule the work and we expect to coordinate and supervise the resources, whether that's direct resources or indirect resources, in order to perform the work that we have scheduled. So when I'm using my leveling capability, ideally what I want to be able to do is tell the computer to schedule the work, not the resources, and then build the profiles that I can maximize or optimize in order to get the work done. So I have in my program here what I call my P1 resources, my direct movie star resources, like my pipe fitters and welders and mechanics, electricians, basically my red seals. And then I have my P2, which I call the supporting cast, things like laborers, roustabouts, and then my P3s, my production crew, which I call things like torque specialists or jet washing. And so what I want to do is show you that the ability to be able to develop the most optimized plan using the capability of P6, the power of its leveling engine and algorithms, and stop calling it resource leveling, but let's call it work optimization and allowing it to do some of the scheduling for me, provided I have enough float built into my plan and the ability to allow it to prioritize based on my programming. So I'm doing about 60% of programming versus scheduling and allowing the computer to do some of that optimization for me. So one of the things that I want to be able to show you is that as we create our work packages and our detailed planning, we do a lot of coding and configuration in the program in order to allow it to do some scheduling and optimization for us. So things like the activity class, whether we're blinding, removing, repairing, cleaning, process availability in terms of the unit, the window of opportunity within the unit from Lotto to PSSR, putting in things like the risk, permit type, task priority that I'm going to level on, activity priority. Again, these are things such as the ability to label things as blinding, cleaning, overhauling, testing, for example, and things like phase. And then I get into a lot of items around cost. At the same time, I'm identifying availability of my resources. Pipe fitter, for example, type P1, available 724, or I could change this calendar to be available for a productivity factor, for example, of 1.4 at 65% PF if I like, and by doing so, it would change the profile of my resource availability. And so when I level, I'm going to try to match the availability of the resources to the work. But ideally, I want to schedule the work and optimize my resources to do the work in that time frame. So one of the things I'm doing is I wanted to just show you some of the settings that I prefer to do under the leveling. Again, I'm not going to level on all resources. I really want to level primarily on the owners of the work packages or my movie stars, P1s, for example. These are the people that cost me a lot of money. These are the people I want to keep busy, and they need support. So they own the package, but they need support. And I'm going to run through things like the PF type, the available crews, the default crew size, whether the cost for regular and overtime is available, that I can start budgeting, because Primavera is a good budgeting tool. It's not great at cost control, but it is a good budgeting tool if you understand the concepts of setting up indirect and direct budgets using expense tabs, level of efforts, direct cost, etc. And I can talk more about that later. So what I'm doing is I'm saying that I'm going to select those resources based on the priority P1s, and I'm going to level within the available float that I have to be able to optimize. I'm going to preserve a minimum of float, so when I get to less than 24 hours of float, I expect that this will demonstrate that I'm burning float, which could be quite expensive, and then I'm going to hit the wall or hit a key milestone prior to PSSR, and I want to be warned of that. So what I'm doing here, though, is I'm going to choose on leveling priorities, and I'm going to level by equipment type, then I'm going to level by unit, then by contractor, then by task priority, and then finally by leveling activity priority. Now you might decide to change this around and first go by unit and then equipment type. But again, this is the opportunity that we have prior to T minus 0 and taking a snapshot of that planned overall S-curve. We want to be able to go and run through all these different scenarios to see what we can optimize and see how we can create the most optimized schedule in terms of what we refer to as the least amount of time, the lowest cost, with the fewest resources, without compromising safety or quality. So I'm going to go ahead and level on this as an example, just to show you and demonstrate that there are opportunities here to create a profile based on availability of the crews that I have, based on priority of the units, of the type of work or type of equipment, and at the same time be able to switch this around for the sake of, I'm going to first do the unit, then I'll do equipment type, and now I can re-level this again and see how this is going to open up for me. Keeping in mind that I'm working with different units with different contractors, but I still have pipe fitters are pipe fitters, welders are welders. I'm putting things together in a way that I can keep everything prioritized. Here you can see my cyan or cyan color means that these are potential work or repair work. So I have a filter on my layout under my bars here that says this is potential work. So if I flag it as potential work, then it's going to turn this color so I can automatically see where I might have potential work. This is what I call the known unknown. So again, these are just some of the ideas to think about. I want to reiterate what I'm saying is that in turnarounds, there's such an intense event that we don't actually schedule resources or level resources. What we do is we schedule the work and we expect to optimize the resources required to perform that work, and that's how we'll build our profiles. And one other note, my WBS is really more of an equipment breakdown structure where it replicates what is in my ERP system or my EAM system like SAP or Primavera, JD Edwards, for example. So that's about it for now. If you have any more questions, send me off a note. There's all kinds of wonderful things that we can do here to turn P6 into an actual turnaround scheduling software and configure and program things a little differently, understanding that we are in a very dynamic environment. It's hour by hour, things are changing, and we have to update every day. We need to know where we are. So we need the help of the computer to help us drive these events. Okay, so that's keeping in mind that I still have my other lump sum fixed price jobs, my level 3s, my level of effort work where I have all of my indirect costs and indirect overhead supervision and such, and building my curtains in my program so I can see what my windows of opportunity are for my days of shutdown in the green, yellow mechanical days, and red for startup. Again, I use very few milestones and very few constraints and very few relationships when I'm scheduling. Again, this is part of the art of dynamic scheduling, but keep in mind that dynamic scheduling or DSM is not just about Primavera or P6. I could do the same thing on Microsoft Project. Keep in mind that it is a collaborative effort between coordinators, collaboration, communication, schedulers, a war room. These are things that help us drive these very intense and dynamic events. We need an agile schedule, and we need to be able to react to these changing conditions quickly. So, okay, that's it for my coffee break. Hopefully, you'll be able to watch this video and gain something from it, or drop me a note if there's anything else you would like to know. Bye for now.